Welcome to the ABCs of Horses, a Big Blend radio podcast featuring Christy Wood, a world champion horse trainer, a carded horse show judge, an equestrian expert, and an author. So welcome, everyone. So Christy Wood is back here on Big Blend Radio with the ABCs of Horses. And today we are going to dive into senior horses. And I'm excited about this because I know even as a child, hanging out with a senior horse, they just felt like this wise individual that you could hang out with that was just so kind. And that's my memories as a child. So, Christy, welcome back. How are you doing?
Hi, Lisa, and hi, everyone. I'm doing great. And that was wonderful to say that senior horses are very special horses.
They are. I mean, I remember a senior horse in my life and that you could just hang out with, and they just kind of chilled out with you. There was this chilled out moment, and I don't know, as a kid, I felt connected and felt loved. And I don't know, it's like kind of, how dogs are for us as humans, how dogs are really cool with you. But a senior horse kind of has this, I've been around the block, so don't mess with me either, right? So there's that, but also this just beautiful intelligence that comes through.
Well, that's true. It's not just so much just don't mess with me. They're also looking at you and going, I've got this for you. I've got this. Because they've seen it all, they've done it all, and there's just a total value in a senior horse. We always used to go, don't forget that the most important thing about senior horses are the 3 M's, the letter M, and that means miles, miles, and more miles. So we want a horse, if you're looking for a senior horse, looking at a senior horse for many different things, their value is excellent for beginners and even for senior humans as well.
You were on a show a few months ago talking about pony horses. Would a senior horse be kind of considered a pony horse?
Yes, exactly. So the older horses are very valuable in actually giving confidence to a young horse when you pony them. It will show them kind of excuse my pun, but they'll show them the ropes by being able to go over water, maybe riding down a road with some traffic, going up and down some hills, even loading into a horse trailer. So the senior horses are just so valuable as a teaching horse. And yes, we definitely pony it. We could pony an older horse that might need some rehab, or even a young horse that needs to learn with an older horse. And that's very, very valuable in our senior horses.
Well, you brought up about the younger horse, and I wonder about that because, you might have a sprite little young one going, woo, woo, woo. Does an older horse kind of calm the younger one down? In any situation, there's so many situations, right? Even on a trail ride, I almost feel like an older horse can, going on a vacation and they go, here, you can choose one of your excursions could be a horse ride. And when you go, it's interesting how they pair you up, like to the horse, like, okay, the elder person could go on this older horse. Like, it's kind of interesting, but it always seems like there's an older horse on the back. Maybe it's being the pony horse, and we just didn't realize that there was such a pony horse thing until we talked to you on this podcast. But is that like kind of that? No.
Well, Lisa, there's a value.
The younger ones.
There is a value in these older horses because they're actually become teachers. Not just the human being the teacher, but the older horse is solid in everything that they've seen because they've lived a long life and they've seen just about everything. So yes, they'll calm a young horse. They'll also give that young horse confidence because the older horse isn't going to spook or shy from the water or shy from walking over a tarp or whatever you plan to do with it. It gives that young horse a very good example on this is okay. You can go ahead and cross this tarp or cross this water because the senior horse will do that.
So is that something we should talk about in regards to horse owners, right? You know what? By the way, everybody, it is National Senior Adopt Month, November. So you might want to adopt a elder horse. But I'm wondering about families that have horses that go, oh, I've ridden this horse for years and now she's elder or he's elder. And maybe you should think of keeping them in your family. I mean, it's kind of like the family dog too. Like, do you just, you're older now, so we're going to like sell you off? Like,
Well,
You know what I
it's
mean?
a little different. Yeah, it's a little different with a horse than a
Okay.
dog. Dogs don't take up a lot of space. An older dog is easy to take care of in your home. Some people, for whatever reason, let's say you've had a great horse for all these years, you've shown him, and you're going to retire him from the show arena because he's getting a little bit older. But tell you what, those retired show horses are great lesson horses. So that's what you could use if they don't have the facility, or let's say the children have grown and gone and the parents are moving into a smaller facility and there's no room for them to keep that wonderful senior horse. Those are the
Okay.
ones we look for. They're great horses to
Okay.
buy for beginners, for beginner young riders, youth riders, and for even seniors, human beings that are looking to get into riding horses. These are the retired show horses are just really excellent. So those are something we look at. We used to say a long time ago when my clients would want to buy a horse for their children, we'd say, make sure that the age of the rider and the age of the horse add up to at least 25 years.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
if you're talking about a 10-year-old rider that needs to start out, the horse should be at least 15. So you want some miles on these horses. You want some with a lot of experience, and those are the great teachers for people as well.
Well, actually, I remember as a little kid in South Africa, my first horse riding lessons were on elder horses. And it was like, they're calm, they're steady, they know. And it's kind of like I'm going back to the pony horse in a way, because it was like they've already been around the block. They're just like, okay, there's a kid on my back. Let me get them from A to B safely and teach them some things.
Yeah,
That's how it was
exactly.
for me as a
Yeah.
teacher. Yeah.
A
Oh,
young horse
wow.
is gonna react to different things until they have a lot of miles. So yes, the senior horses have seen it all. Motorcycle could go by on the road and it's not going to bother the senior horse because they've heard them thousands of times. Matter of fact, I deliberately have my training arena on the road so
Mm.
that the horses can get used to trucks. And I encourage people, my friends want to honk when they go by. And they asked me, matter of fact, they asked me first, can we honk and wave at you when we go by? And I said, yes, please do. My horses are used to cars and trucks and the noise that motorcycles make. And it's just, they're very, very valuable.
And now I know you've kept them. You're right. I think about that with you doing the Chief Joe trail ride. And I was just talking about this. I just recorded an interview about military history in our national parks, and I was thinking of you because, we've got, Veterans Day coming up, and you do this epic trail ride, and it's different when we think about veterans history, right? Or military history. It's military history for sure. But it's also the history of our Native Americans people, our indigenous people. And we are also celebrating or honoring the Indigenous Peoples Month right now in November. And I was thinking about you on these horses and, the Chief Joe trail ride that you do, which is this progressive trail ride that is like, what, 13 years? Like you go,
Takes 13 years to complete the ride because we do 100 miles every year.
yes. And
For
you have
13.
these horses, and then at times you have to change out a horse, which you've had to do. How is that in thinking about that when you think of a senior horse that has gone through this epic trip? I mean, not only are you riding them on
Well,
this trail ride, but you're driving them there too. You're actually transporting them. There's a huge
right.
change in routine. You know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. My horses, it's not a change in routine. My horses are used to being trailered. They're trailered a lot because I go a lot. I trailer away from
Hmm.
my property a lot to go ride an hour or two away from where I live just to get my horse up in the mountains. This is but you read the book. If you've read my book, Hoof Prints Across Time, A Trail Ride to Remember, that book is all about a wonderful horse named Dollar, who's still alive right now. She's 29 years old. When we finished the 1,300 miles, she was 20. And she was in excellent shape. But even at 20, it's a hard ride to go back and try to do it again. And that's why I went and bought her half brother to start with him. He was, got him started when he was 4 at year 1 again, starting over. I'm doing the ride a second time. So the senior horse, it's a little harder to take back and go do this ride because it is difficult. It's very physically demanding. And so honestly, a horse in their 20s, as fit as Dollar was, I just didn't really want to put that her through that and have her push to be just to push to get through that. So that's why I came back with a younger horse. But she was just an amazing horse. She's 29 now. She gives at least 4 riding lessons a week. So just because she's older, thank goodness and thank God that she is healthy, she's still sound, and so she is so valuable. I put all of my beginners on her because she is a tolerant horse, a very forgiving horse, and can actually help people understand how to ride. And she's the
Mm.
best horse for that. So she's no longer going to be on steep mountains. She doesn't have to work that hard. She's in semi-retirement, but she's just a very valuable horse for everyone to come and learn about horses and learn how to ride.
Well, isn't this kind of like people too? Our ages kind of change. My mom Nancy's able to do website work and all kinds of things. And, it's like back in the day, she wouldn't even be here, honestly. If you look at how human existence has been, we used to die off in the 50s, 40s
Mm.
and 50s, and I'd be a spinster and be shunned. So we've changed and humans have changed and horses, like, I just kind of feel like, they've been there for you and you're still working with daughter. I mean, that's amazing. Isn't
Well,
that?
let's talk about that. So because we're a progressive people and we're always working at trying to solve problems and enhance our lives a little better with, let's say, nutrition and our environment and different things like that. I mean, most of us try. What we
I
have to
still
do
drink
with
wine, Christy. Sorry.
this is what we have to do for our senior horses is they're going to take a little more care. You need to be more observant about their care and make sure that they, just because they're senior doesn't mean, let's say, they need to eat as much. I don't know. Some people have some interesting philosophies about horses and senior horses and even wild horses, and maybe they don't need as much. That's not necessarily true. It really isn't true. As they get older, they lose a little more muscle. You have to be observant to how healthy your horse is. You may have to change saddle pads because their body changes now and the muscle tone up on their back and near their withers slopes a little bit more because they've lost the muscle tone. You take care of that with some extra pads and make sure that they're comfortable with that the saddle fits them properly, but just good care. There's a lot of supplements that you can give them for joints. I mean, their joints have been through a lot. I mean, Dollars at 29's had a great life. I mean, the average lifespan for a horse is 22 to 25. She's already outlived her father, her mother, and her full brother. You have to consider their joints. Just take good care of them. In the wintertime, they might need more calories to stay warm. Hopefully, you've got a blanket you can put on your older horse if it's not raining, or put them in a barn if it is. A Dollar won't be out in the rain at all. If it starts to rain, she gets definitely I lock her in a stall under cover, and we just take care of them. We keep observing the maintenance and just make sure that she is fed well and that she's healthy. I want her to live another 30 years.
Well, this is interesting because I said like humans are living longer. So are horses living longer? You just said like she's outliving her family.
Yeah.
So are our
Well,
horses
okay, so
living longer?
part of that is
Yeah.
genetics. There's no doubt genetics plays a big part. There are different bloodlines in horses, and there's unfortunately, some diseases out there that can affect some horses. But knowing her background and where she came from, Dollar has been on an extremely high quality diet compared to maybe what the rest of her family went through in the past. So, I just take really good care. My horse eats well. I want her to be well. I want her to be healthy. And I'm still asking, I'm asking 4 lessons out of her a week. So in order for her to maintain that and
Oh.
still be healthy and sound, I make sure that she's fed right or fed
Mm.
up. If we feed a lot of good supplements, I'm going to put a pitch out here. I feed Platinum Performance to my horses, and they've got different supplements, not just a general one, but they've got them for joints and good gut health. And it's just a great, great product.
Well, that's cool to know for people, you know. But so do you give them like extra straw in their stables or, like as they become elder, like
Well, I
I'm
don't bed with
thinking
straw.
human.
Yeah, I don't bed with straw, I bed with shavings, but again,
Okay.
if the weather drops below 40 degrees, Dollar, or 45 degrees, Dollar has a blanket on. If it's
Mm.
dry, then she's perfectly happy being turned out at night in her big paddock with a blanket on, but if it rains, I put her and all my horses actually go into a stall, especially Dollar, just because she's older now. Her body's gonna have to work twice as hard to stay warm because she's older. So,
Yeah.
we
Well,
do extra things to protect her. If she still gets a little cold, we can put lights on. It just usually the blankets help, and keeping her out of the damp and out of the wet makes a big difference at night.
Well, I love that you're talking about this. So look at supplements, look at, bedding and warmth, because even that's, we have to think at, maybe look at how humans are.
Hmm.
Humans start to, as we age, we start to get cold as we age. We do. Our skin changes, our body changes, and we want warmth. It's true. If you go into an elder home care facility, you'll find the heat on more than what you may
Right,
want to
right.
tolerate.
Yeah.
And that's because of that. Our bodies change, and it's going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
for horses. We are all animals, whether we like it or not. It's true. So we got to think of that. And I think there's a responsibility. I love that. I think a horse that has been active. Remember, I've talked about Surtees, Nancy's horse,
Hmm.
that kept, even though he was retired, kept doing the jumps.
Hmm.
Like when we look at humans, like Christy, I don't care. You're never going to stop, right? You're
Probably not.
never going to stop working, doing horse stuff. You're going to do this until it's your last breath. I know
That's
that
right.
about you. And we're
Yes.
going to talk about Ranger, your book too, which is part of that. Like, I think you're going to write a bunch more than what you may think. I don't know. But humans don't stop. Those people that, like, Nancy's not going to stop. People go, Nancy and I shouldn't be traveling the country 100%. And I'm like, and then I have friends that really know Nancy goes, like, if you stop this tour, she's going to die on you. You need to keep going. You
So
know what I
Lisa,
mean? So
let's
yeah, talk
look at the
about that because
parallel. Look at
humans
the
are like
parallel
that.
with humans and with
Yeah.
horses. And you know what? There's so much value in your human elders, your grandparents. My gosh, you can learn so much from your grandparents.
Oh,
Don't think
yes.
you don't think they're old fashioned. They have lived amazing lives, and they've had to accomplish a lot more than the younger generation today. And just learning their stories and how they did it and how they persevered. So the same thing with a senior horse. Just because a horse has, and I hate numbers. I hate people saying, "Oh, you're a certain age because let's say you're this number and you're 55 now, and maybe you're a senior," and people just kind of turn away from you because you are. Well, that's nonsense. Seniors have learned. There's so much you can learn from them, from humans and from your senior horses. They are going to be so much more tolerant of some of the mistakes that you make, and they're great teachers. So just because they're older doesn't mean you stop. I mean, dollar at 29, if anybody
Mm.
else would say, "Oh my gosh, you're riding a horse that's 29." Yeah, I'll send you the video of her, of what she looked like 2 days ago. And she's running on the end of the London line and bucking and kicking and just having a great old time. She feels great. So she enjoys her lesson. She enjoys being groomed by these new people and and teaching them. She really enjoys that bonding with them, and she's such a great teacher. So just because she's older doesn't mean we have to quit. Now it means you have to look at soundness with horses. Are they physically able to still continue? And if they are, then you keep on going.
Mm.
So don't let anybody tell Nancy she's too old for anything, or anybody's too old for anything. You're basically as young as you feel. So hopefully, if you feel young enough, you keep going. Run it. That's my philosophy. Running it.
Nancy, no, that's the thing too. With a horse, is there a part with a senior horse where you say, okay, you could be part of like you're talking about dollar, or maybe people learn grooming and stuff like that, but not getting on the horse. Is there a time of not getting on the horse and
The
maybe,
time, Lisa, is if there's a physical issue. If there's a
okay.
physical issue, then obviously, yes. I mean, if that horse has trouble carrying the weight on their back anymore, they're not sound, they've got some medical issues, then yes, you can always modify that. You don't have to ride them. They could stand there and people could learn how to clean hooves and brush them and learn anatomy. Yes, they're so useful. They're still going to be useful. All of us are going
I
to be useful till we take that last breath, right?
think if we're not, we get crazy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I know that about you. So tell us about Ranger and everyone. Chrissy will also be part of our new episodes of Feast of Words, talking about Ranger, which is her book. But, right now we're excited because it is a new season. It is the National Young Readers Week, which runs from November 10th through 14th. So we're ahead of the time. We like to be ahead. It's also National Children's Book Week right now. but let's just be ahead of the time, right, Christy? Talking about young readers, you wrote a book, Ranger, right?
Yes.
And this is different. You didn't write it, from your perspective, right?
Oh, I didn't write the book, Lisa. The horse wrote the book.
Well, excuse
So
me.
Ranger wrote his own life story. That's the best way to describe it. So that was my second book that I published called Ranger, the little horse with the big heart. Just a wonderful, wonderful story based 100% on a true story. But the book is written in the horse's voice. He writes his own life story and it's very enchanting about how he got along with other animals and the humans in his life. And there's really an insight to how horses think in this book as well. And then there's another little message about it's more important that is what's on the inside of you is more important than what's on the outside. So there's a
Ooh,
spirit in this book about persevering and trying and surviving and becoming something great when if you look on the outside, you don't see that. So it's a really very special book. And Ranger was a very special horse, and he lived to be 32 years young. That's the best way I can describe Ranger. I mean, he was active until 3 days before his last breath. So he's just an amazing horse at 32, and we just had a great life together. And it's a wonderful book. I encourage everybody to please pick it up. You pick it up, purchase it off of my website, which is wdnhorse.com. And if you do that through my website, then I can personally sign it for you.
I want to ask you this, Christy. How much have horses taught you? Horses.
Everything about patience, because we have to have a lot of patience to work with horses, but even so, they just, I had someone tell me a long time ago, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. And that's almost, I look at Dollar, and she's kind of doing the same thing. She says, I've got this. I'll take care of these people. Nothing's really critical. Nothing's too exciting. The young horses always react, and Dollar just doesn't need to react. She says, I've got this. So that's why she's a wonderful horse to learn on. And she's taught me patience and taught me not to worry about things, and she's always there.
Wow.
She's got, horses like dogs love you unconditionally. What's
That's the
beautiful
thing.
about
I
that,
know.
about the animal world, the animal kingdom is sharing that with us.
That unconditional love and loyalty. The loyalty of a horse is something so, and that's where when we talk about senior horses, whether they come into your life partway through or you're keeping them after, riding them through shows or trail rides or whatever it is. There's this magic. And I think it is like a senior horse can be like a mentor to a human being.
That's
I know
correct.
that sounds weird,
No,
but I
no,
think
it's not.
so.
No, it's not. Not at all. Not at all. Well, Lisa, I thank you so much for our podcast again. This has just been wonderful. I hope everybody's enjoying it, and I certainly would love to hear from all of you. Please send me an email. My email address is on my website, udnhorse.com, and I would love to hear from everybody. And stay tuned because we're working our way through the alphabet. We're going to be on letter T next time. Not quite sure what we're going to.
I have a list for tea.
Yeah,
So there it is. All
so
right.
it'll be a surprise, everybody.
You never know. We might have like a who knows. Anyway, stay tuned. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's ABCs of Horses featuring Christy Wood. You can keep up with Christy and learn more about her services and her books by going to her website, wdnhorse.com. Keep up with Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com.